So welcome to your second dive site. We've brought you to a lovely dive site called Joy's Joy. So Reese was talking a little bit earlier on with regards to the Blue Boat Marine Park, and sort of we categorise it into two sections. So we have that Jackson by Sandy Boulevard area that Reese was talking about, and then we have that sheer wall section. So mixing ball is where the magic meets. But we're in the sheer wall section now. So what you'll find the difference being that within the sheer wall, obviously how vertical the wall is varies. Some of them are more sheer than others, but typically you have this sort of sloping hard pan top reef, and then it just obviously drops down. Whereas the Jackson Bight area, you have this hard pan sloping reef. You then have a mini wall, a sand channel, then the top of the wall, and then it slopes down. So that's the difference. So you saw a little bit of that in Mixing Bowl, because you've got that mini wall as well. But we're in the sheer wall section. This is a really interesting part of the sheer wall section as well. It's not the sheerest of the sheer. We class those, it's still pretty vertical, don't get me wrong. We've got the Great Walls and Ringers Wall, which is slightly further down there. We will be doing them at some point. So, but you'll be hard pushed to find a wall dive more vertical than those. This is nonetheless still pretty vertical, so it is pretty Jurassic still. But you have these lovely coral fingers that, as you can see, obviously at some point were connected to the top of the wall and have broken away over time. But it makes for a really textured and interesting dive with all these sort of nooks and crannies and canyons to explore. So yeah, hopefully you're going to enjoy it as much as we do. You'll notice as well within the Marine Park that a lot of the dive sites are named after ladies. So we've got Joy's Joy, we have Donna's Delight, we've got Marilyn's Cut. So there was a chap called Mike Grundy. He was a big player within the Department of Environment, setting up these moorings for us to dive on. And I've been told that he named them after prominent ladies in his life. So hopefully you find this dive joyful. So X marks the spot of where the mooring pin is, and the boat is swinging. Oh, we've sort of moved slightly now. We're probably swinging more over this side.
There's a dive site called Allison's Alimony.
Well, there's Marilyn's Cut, so I'm assuming maybe Marilyn might have been his ex-wife. Who knows?
Maybe.
So we're kind of swinging from sort of over there to over there, whatever. But we're moored to the top of the wall, probably by the mooring pins about 25 to 30 feet, something like that. You're going to have Reese in the water with you on this one. So if you want to join him on his magical mystery tour, he's going to have, just like my tank, little white shorty nitrox. He's got those sort of stripy green shorts on.
I look like this when underwater.
He looks like that underwater.
With
a smiley disposition.
Yeah.
So yeah, he'll make himself known to you. But what he's going to do is if you want to join him, I would probably just meet him just in the shallows by the boat, just on the edge of the wall. And when we all gathered together, he's going to make his way down this sloping wall section. Obviously, do please bear in mind it is your second dive, so we want to be limiting that depth to no more than 60 feet. It is quite easy, especially on a wall dive, obviously, to slip below that depth. So just pay close attention to your depth gauges and your dive computers. Just make sure you limit that depth to 60. And then when he's down there, he's going to be taking a right-hand turn. So he's going to be having that sloping wall on his right and the blue out on his left. It almost sort of ledges off at around 60-ish feet. But it is particularly interesting. So just like all of the wall dives within the marine park, you're going to get all sorts of different sponges. For example, we've got tube sponges, rope sponges, beautiful barrel sponges as well. You'll find some really stunning ones. They've always got critters to find around them as well. So on that previous dive, that big barrel sponge, we saw that spotted moray. You might have noticed on some of them as well, yellow line arrow crabs. So they look quite spider-like. I'm not going to draw you one because you'll laugh at my drawing, but I'll show you in the book later on if you like. They've got sort of a triangular head and they've got these vibrant sort of bluey purple pincers. So they're the yellow line arrow crab. They're quite common, so you're likely to see those on the wall. And then things like banded coral shrimps as well. They can get relatively large, but they're quite a small shrimp, and you usually find them tucked around sponges, and they have sort of a white and sort of browny reddish band to their claws and their pincers. So always worth checking for those, and things like brittle stars as well. You see a lot of those sort of encrusted on sponges. And then there'll be all sorts of soft corals as well as you're going that also have lots of critters in them too. So definitely worth checking all those things out for sure. Nice glacial pace. I never like to go too fast because you don't want to miss all those cool small things. But every now and again as well, you want to be glancing into the blue just for anything that might be gliding on. All those sorts of pelagics that we're always looking for. We're obviously always looking for the sharks. We mainly get the Caribbean reef sharks here. You're more likely to see those off the wall. But we also do get nurse sharks. I think a couple of you saw one on that previous dive. But you usually see the nurse sharks on the top of the wall. We did see an ocean trigger on that previous dive, if anyone saw that one, ocean trigger. They almost look like a little small molar, but they are a triggerfish. They're not a sunfish. But they're kind of medium coloured silver, kind of oval, and they just look very floppy. They sort of go like this off of the wall. They don't look like they should move anywhere particularly fast, but they're pretty fast swimmers. But you tend to see those off the wall, so worth checking for. And then things like barracuda as well, all that good stuff as you're going along. Look up and around for turtles too. Don't just, sometimes I think we get a bit sidelined and just see this level, but it's always worth checking around us. For those turtles. Probably after about 6 or so minutes of swimming along this section, you're going to come across that first finger. I'm not going to go into too much detail as to how Reese is going to actually guide